A sharp recovery in the last hour saw Dalal Street ended higher. Nifty recovers 300 points to end about 24,600. Nifty Bank sees a more than 500 point recovery. IT and Pharma are the top gainers.
Lupin, Fortis Healthcare and others surge after a strong first quarter performance. Lupin expects double-digit growth in FY26, reiterates the $250 million sales guidance for the US market. And Fortis too reports a 16% year-on-year jump. The management commits to cutting debt by the end of FY26.
Hero Motor delivers a mixed bag of earnings in Q1 FY26. Revenue misses estimates, other income and lower input costs and profits are something that we were watching out for. BHEL tanks on a weak Q1. Net losses widened to 455 crores versus 211 crore rupees for the same period last year.
Good evening. You're watching us here on Markets Forward. It's definitely been a tale of two halves. In the first half of trade, we saw a big gash in the frontline indices. There was a lot of fear around what Donald Trump's next move would be after already imposing a 25% tariff, over a 25% tariff, making India's tariffs to the US exports at 50%. And thereafter, the street shrugged off those worries and said that maybe we're okay with it. Hopefully, there would be some negotiation. And there we saw a big recovery from the frontline indices. The Nifty IT actually was the one that led that gain. This is Markets Forward, the show where we get you all key data points to get up for the next trading day. I'm Mangalam Malu, with me, Vinny Motiwala. Vinny.
Hi, evening Mangalam. So, interesting day, right? When I didn't expect this coming in through the day, opened up in the red, and look at the recovery, right? Nifty recovering around 300 points from the day's low. That is something we're watching out for. 24,600. That's a key level. Even Nifty Bank, we are seeing that recovery, 500-point recovery for the Nifty Bank. You mentioned IT. Obviously, that was leading the gains. We had Pharma leading the gains. Media was the one which was managing to hold on to gains as well through the day. But a good recovery is what we've seen coming for the market. And that is what we'll watch out for if this sustains, right, tomorrow. Will be key to watch out for from there.
Yep, you said you didn't expect it. Neither did a lot of those call writers who expected the market to, die in the last hour of trade from the highs. Did not expect that. And then once the market started moving higher, remember this was an already net short market where the FIs were 92% short. And today was also the weekly options expiry. So that led to some further short covering. The gain happened in the last hour itself. Quick succession post 3 p.m. Two charts that tell you the story of the day. First one is the advanced decline. That comes up for you. For most part of the day, we had the red line much above the green line. And thereafter, as we moved towards the end, the market ended virtually split right down the middle for 1,300 stocks, which ended in the green, for 1,400 stocks, which ended in the red. There you have it, those lines intersecting with the green ending above the red one. And the second chart of the day would be the India VIX. That comes up for you. For most part of the day, the India VIX was slightly high. And once we started to see recovery, the India VIX fell and ended at the low point of trade, telling you that the market believes that they have this covered. And what else do we have you covered for? For the next 20 minutes, we'll get you all the big news and big voices on the show. So let's tell you what exactly do we have on the show. We have with us some of the top stock movers. Hormaz joins in with all the stocks that move around from the big wall. Hormaz, there were a lot of movers and shakers, some in red, some in green.
A lot of movers, indeed. And if anybody would have predicted that at the start of the day that you'd have a reaction like this at the final few minutes is definitely lying. But you'd look at the positive earnings reactions to start off with, considering we ended with a positive tilt. And Lincoln Pharma was one such positive mover in today's session, ending almost 14% higher after its results. Rain Industries was another one with a positive reaction. Kaplan Point reported results today, as did Savita Oil, both of them ending higher today. And Lupin too, the earnings outperformer from yesterday, and that spilled over into today's session as well. Among the negative earnings reactions, there were a lot of stocks that ended with double-digit losses. GPT Healthcare ended below its IPO price with this 9% cut. But take a look at the others. Lumax, Igarashi, Prince Pipes, all of them ending lower with cuts of anywhere between 10 to 12%. It was the banking stocks that led the recovery on the index today. You will not see that the gains are significant, but the lows, the recovery from the lows is a lot significant. Indian Bank, HDFC Bank was a prime contributor to the Nifty recovery, as was AU Small Finance Bank for the Nifty Bank as well. Lastly, some newsmakers today. Hero MotoCorp, after the earnings commentary, did well for itself, ended 4% higher. Avalon Technologies won an order yesterday. Godfrey Phillips, that one did well for the last 3 sessions and then saw some profit booking today. Eternal after the block deal, and Reliance Industries ending with a negative tick, but significantly off the lows of the day. Back to you guys.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Urma's important stocks that were buzzing in today's trading session. But on that note, let's bring our experts for today. And we have Amrish Baliga, independent market expert, as well as Richard Jain of Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Amrish, as well as Richard, good evening and thanks for joining us on the show. Richard, what a recovery that we've seen right today coming in. 24,340, around that was the low. And now we closed about 24,600. What are the key levels that we should be keeping an eye out on in tomorrow's trading session, especially, so that we know that is this going to sustain 24,600? Are we going to see a further recovery? What are we watching out for?
Yeah, hi, very good afternoon to everyone. But I think it was a perfect setup where we usually see recovery, because the stock index has already seen a correction of about 1,200, 1,300 odd points in last 1 month. Momentum readings technically were quite oversold zone because of this correction, and FIs had about 92% positions on the short side. So historically, we have seen that whenever markets is in oversold zone and FIs have such high short positions, the room to create fresh shorts reduces significantly over there, and which is followed by short covering move. I think a pullback move is there. Too early to say that the markets have bottomed and we would see a resumption of the uptrend over here. But at least the short-term relief could be seen, and on the higher levels, initial resistance would come around 24,750, 24,800 kind of levels. On the lower side, 24,300, 250 continues to remains a very strong support, where again 200-day exponential moving average is coming in now. So I think post the recent correction, the price-wise downside seems to be very limited from here on. Now one needs to see whether we see a time-wise correction in the short term before resuming the broader uptrend. But yes, this is the case where there are short heavy positions by FIs. So as we go towards the support end at lower levels, we would see renewed buying interest.
All right, so that's the view coming in. Richard, thanks a lot for that. We, let's get talking about some of the individual stocks that moved around as well. Hormaz obviously did tell us about some of them. Amrish, your thoughts on a couple of outperformers today? We did see, the metals pack do extremely well. HDFC ended at the high point of trade. Do you think, focus, because of the global uncertainty, now shifts back to domestic names? Some of the domestic consumption names, both staples and discretionary and financials?
Absolutely, because I think that's one segment which should outperform, and especially the consumption space, because we have seen a lot of underperformance, from them in the last 1.5, 2 years. Especially FMCG, and to a certain extent, some of the consumer durables. So out here, I would surely say something like a ITC, Dabur, HUL. I think these are the ones which will outperform. In the consumer durables side, I think Voltas, has corrected decently well in the recent past. I think that's one stock which should, I think has seen the bottom, at least the temporary bottom as of now. And I think we should see a decent move from here.
Okay, keeping an eye out on the consumption story going forward, and maybe that could see an outperformance. But today, what was outperforming was the Pharma pack. We had Lupin as well as Fortis. Both of these gained almost around 3%, and this is after their numbers came in. Let's go across to Ekta, who's here to tell us, what came out in the numbers, what were the highlights from the con call as well. Ekta.
Well, yes, for Lupin this quarter, the commentary also enthused the markets along with the numbers which came out. So they have indicated overall revenue growth to grow in high single digits. The domestic business is set to outperform the Indian pharma market for the next 5 years. Diagnostic business is targeted to become EBITDA positive by FY27. They're looking at a guidance of around $250 million in terms of US sales per quarter, and they would currently stick to their guidance of around 50 to 100 basis points margin improvement at this point. Overall, good numbers coming in from Lupin, and that's what kept the stock steady. For Fortis as well, good numbers, and the commentary also was positive. So the hospital revenue was up 18%, the margins expanded to 22%, diagnostics was up around 6.3% year on year, but margins expanded to almost 26%. They expect occupancy to improve to 72% from the next quarter. Oncology growth has been fast according to them, and high-end specialty growth is faster than core growth at this point.
Amrish, you did speak about some of the consumption names which are doing well. Do you think pharma warrants a mention? Because while it is export facing, it is still relatively resilient when it comes to tariffs, etc. Because, I mean,
That's
the
true.
US wouldn't want its medical bills to go up.
No, that's true because see, US cannot stop buying Indian pharma, period. I mean, they cannot replace Indian pharma with something else overnight. So at least, I mean, again, assuming that this tariff issue continues for much longer, at least for the time being, I think Indian pharma is spared. So I don't think there's anything much to worry about. And in case these stocks correct because of these worries, I think it's a good buying opportunity if you're talking about the next 1.5, 2 years. I think the same will apply to as far as Indian IT is concerned, because that again cannot be replaced overnight. And the third area is I don't think US can afford expensive iPhones. So I think the electronic manufacturing which happens in India, I think even that would be spared for much longer.
Okay, that will be interesting to watch out for. Electronic manufacturing is also something we'll keep an eye out on with the pharma pack. But let's talk about Hero Moto, because that was in focus as well. The stock gained almost 3%, and this is despite a big mixed bag of numbers that came in Q1 FY26. Okay, so we had seen the profits that were aided mainly because of income and lower tax rates that came in. That was something that worked for the company. Let's actually go across to Sudarshan, who's here to tell us about what happened in the stock, what are we watching out for, what were the highlights in the con call as well.
So Hero MotoCorp announced its Q1 earnings yesterday, and earnings were slightly missed or almost in line to our expectations. But the big move in the stock price that we saw today, it came after 10:30 a.m. when company held the analyst call. So some of the takeaways from the earnings call: first, on the margin front, for FY26, the guidance is in the range of 14 to 16%. But company is saying that in the near term, margin is expected to be in the lower band of the guidance, that is around 14 to 14.5%. So that is slightly negative. Now, on the growth part, which is positive, company is saying that for FY26, industry growth range is seen around 6 to 7%, and company will maintain that. That's positive. Second, on the export front, company is expecting growth to be more than 40%. So that is taken positively. On the market share, in the retail segment, company is holding on to market share of around 31%, and in the entry-level segment, where it's the market leader, it's holding on to market share of 66 to 67%. So that is also taken positively. Last part, why there is a big move in the stock price, because the commentary that company is given on the launches. So in Q2 FY26, company is making 2 launches in 125cc segment, and 1 launch that is company is doing in the partnership with Harley Davidson, and that launch also will happen in Q2 FY26. So because of these major launches, market is expecting that companies launching and expecting a major demand in the festive season or ahead of the festive season, and that's the reason it was a big move that we have seen in the Hero MotoCorp. At the end, it was up more than 4%.
All right, Hero MotoCorp up more than 4%. Let's get in a view coming in on Hero MotoCorp. What do you think the chart suggests, Ruchit, on Hero MotoCorp?
The chart sector is quite bullish. We have seen about 2.5 months of consolidation since mid-May in Hero MotoCorp, where 4,400 was the resistance. Recently, a couple of days ago itself, the stock gave a breakout. And if you look at the volumes in last 3 or 4 trading sessions, along with the price of move, they are much higher than the recent daily average volumes. So I think even if you look at the sectoral move, then this two-wheeler segment within the auto space is showing a signs of good trended up move and a relative outperformance. You take stocks such as TVS Motors, which is trading in its 52-week high, even in such markets. Hero MotoCorp has given a good breakout recently. So I think two-wheeler as a space should do well in the short term. And Hero MotoCorp probably around the higher side. We are expecting targets around 48.50 in next few trading sessions.
Okay, let's move on to the next stock that was in focus today. That was BHEL. Now, that fell over 6%, and this came in after a weak set of numbers was reported by the company. The firm saw its net losses widen to 455 crore rupees versus just a 211 crore rupees in the last year, same time. Meanwhile, revenue from operation, that was very flat in terms of a growth. What more were the details in terms of numbers or highlights that we're watching out for now? Vamakshay is joining with us for that.
Well, Vinny, absolutely dismal set of numbers coming in from BHEL this time around. Revenue was flat. When we look at the EBITDA, the EBITDA loss that has widened from 169 crores to 537 crores, and this is mainly on account of the other expenses, which nearly doubled to almost 675 crores. The street this time around was expecting a profit to come through from BHEL, but that has not transpired. Instead, the losses have only widened further from 211 crores to 455 crores, and this weak performance is largely being led by their power segment. Keep in mind that the revenue here saw a downtick of almost 5.5%, and in fact the EBIT loss also widened from 54 crores to 510 crores. On the other hand, the industry segment did quite well, 17% growth, and the margins have improved from 4.67% to 19.32%. The ordering activity on the flip side was quite robust. Order inflow saw an uptick of almost 42%, and the order book stood at 2.04 lakh crore, which is above what the street was anticipating. But that does not take away from the fact that it was a miss as far as the earnings estimates were concerned, and therefore the stock closed lower in today's trading session.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Vama. Amrish, your thoughts coming in for BHEL? Now what should we be keeping an eye on? This quarter wasn't exciting, but overall for the sector as well as the company.
No, in fact, for BHEL, generally June quarter is a weak quarter, but unfortunately, and it's quite disappointing that the losses are widened. In fact, I was expecting the losses to be reduced because the last 3 quarters, the performance was better than at least on a Y-on-Y basis. But then this has been disappointing. So I'll not be surprised in case we see BHEL, in fact, slip below that 200 levels. But at about 180, 190, one could look at buying from a longer term perspective because I'm quite bullish still on this sector.
All right, still bullish on this sector. What we'll do is let's talk about some of the other movers as well. A lot of numbers that came in today and a lot of stocks that were in the news. Bajaj Electrical, Prince Pipes fell after weak first quarter numbers. Prince Pipe, actually gained on a good set of numbers. Bajaj Electricals was the one which fell. Upasana Bhatt joins in with the details of that one. Upasana, good performance coming in from Kaplan Point and Bajaj Electricals, not so much for Prince Pipes.
Firstly, let me start with Bajaj Electrical. Overall, it's been a weak set of numbers below what Street was anticipating. Revenue saw a downtick of 8%. While there was a one-off this quarter with an exceptional item of nearly about 6.6 crore, which impacted the margins of the company as well. Now, EBITDA margins stood at 3.1% versus 6.5% on a year-on-year basis, and PAT stood at just 1 crore around with a downtick of nearly 97%. Now, the company's key segment, that is consumer products, which forms nearly 75% of the company's revenue mix, saw downward pressure with a revenue downtick of nearly about 11% versus the other segment, that is lighting solution, which reported a growth of about 3% on a year-on-year basis. Now, coming to Prince Pipes, overall the revenue and profitability remained weak for the company. Revenue saw a downtick of 4%, PAT saw a downtick of 80%, and EBITDA margin saw a downtick of nearly about 270 basis points due to continued drop in the PVC prices. But irrespective, company has reported a volume growth of nearly about 4% this quarter on year-on-year basis. And lastly, coming to Kaplan Point, which reported a strong set of numbers, the revenue saw an uptick of 11%, net profit saw an uptick of 23%, and EBITDA margins also increased sharply from 33% to 35%. Now, US revenue saw a growth of nearly about 36% on year-on-year basis, which was the main growth driver for the company.
Okay, Upasana, thank you so much for that. Ruchit, any of these names that you will be looking out for? Kaplan Point, Prince Pipes. Prince Pipes has seen a significant correction, right now after this earnings, and in the last 1 month also has not done anything exciting. So on the charts, would that be something you would watch out for?
I think amongst all these 3 names, only Kaplan Point is the stock where chart structures are a bit positive. Although a good consolidation has been seen, but at least the recent past indicates a good support base buying near 1800, 1900 kind of range. And even today, along with the recovery, the volumes are quite good. So both other names, Bajaj Electricals as well as Prince Pipes, they're still in downtrend, no signs of reversal. But if one is looking for a bit delivery-based buying for maybe 1 or 2 quarters, then Kaplan Point can be considered at current levels.
All right, Amrish, do you like any of these?
In fact, Kaplan Point I don't track. Bajaj Electrical was a disappointment, but the stock has bounced back a bit. I think it's a selling opportunity. Prince Pipes has been an underperformer for a long time. In this space, I would surely prefer something like a Phenolix Industries or a Astral. as compared to Prince Pipes.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your insight in terms of individual stocks as well as the market. But on that note, we're going to step into a very short break. We'll get you the top corporate voices along with the key market events to watch out for in tomorrow's trading session after this break.
Right, and in stocks and news, we have Bajaj Electrical and Prince Pipes, which fell after weak first quarter numbers, while Kaplan Point saw solid gains on a good set. Upasna joins in with the details. Upasna. You've been watching us here on Markets Forward. We told you about what the way forward for tomorrow's trade would be, but let's also get you some corporate voices that we had. Jindal Stainless, the stock slips in trade today. Despite reporting good set of numbers, the management says the stainless steel industry is not anticipating any impact of Trump's tariffs since it's already in the 50% tariff bracket. Also said US is a small part of sales for the company. The company is guided for its volume growth in FY26 to be between 9 to 10%. Also, its consolidated EBITDA per ton to be around rupees 20,000.
Next up, we spoke to Bharat Forge. The management believes US President Donald Trump's 50% tariff on India will cause pain to any industry in India. The management is optimistic that there will be some political resolution to the tariff issue sooner than later. The company's exports to the United States are around $200 million with a revenue exposure of 10%. The management says that due to the tariff, it has taken a hit of 14 crore rupees in FY26, while noting that significant capital investment had been made over the past 2 to 3 years in the United States market, and the management guides that the defense business too sees a 15 to 20% uptick and is extremely bullish about aerospace business.
Right, that's not all. We also had the management of Torrent Power joining us on our channel. It says that power demand is subdued due to the early onset of monsoon and the higher LNG prices. However, this has not affected growth and expansion plans of the company. The company is exploring coal assets as part of both greenfield and brownfield thermal asset expansion. Also said it has a strong balance sheet.
And before we wrap up Markets Forward today, we bring you the key events to watch out for in tomorrow's trading session. And for that, we have Upasna to take us through that. Upasna?
Well, first up, let us look at the important results that we'll be closely tracking for tomorrow. Companies like SBI, Tata Motors, Grasim, Voltas, Siemens, HAL, InfoEdge and GRSE will be reporting their numbers. Now, let us look at the key stocks that will be in focus on the back of corporate action. Paris Defense tomorrow marks as the record day for the dividend. Also, Nestle India will be in focus as bonus issue in the ratio 1:1 is scheduled for tomorrow. Sandur Manganese and Iron Ore also in focus as board will consider bonus issue for tomorrow. Now, let us look at the global cues. France and Canada will be reporting its unemployment data, while Russia will be reporting its GDP and inflation data. Now, Trump sets August 8th as the deadline for Russia-Ukraine peace deal. Trump will also host leaders from Armenia and Azerbaijan at the White House on Friday, that is tomorrow. So we'll be keeping a track of that as well. And lastly, the most important cabinet meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, wherein PM Modi will discuss the impact of tariffs with various ministers. So we'll be looking out for that as well. So all in all, looks like a power-packed day tomorrow.
Indeed, a power-packed day tomorrow. Upasna, thank you so much for that. We will obviously watch out for what takes place overnight with Donald Trump tariffs and all that takes place as well. With that, we wrap up on this edition of Markets Forward. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with more news and updates on the other side.